Hello and welcome to Satsang this evening here in the UK, whatever time it is where you are watching this, welcome. So Satsang is always for the most essential thing that we will ever investigate in our entire lives as human beings. We can achieve anything in the human world, and it will not compare to what we can discover here in Satsang. And that's not to push away the physical world, of course, that is also our own self showing up. But there is nothing that can compare to the peace, the undisturbable, constant, effortless, stable peace that comes from the recognition of who you really are. And as that peace deepens, it deepens into a joy that just happens for no reason at all, just because it is your natural state to be joyful, to be playful, to be open and free. And then that deepens into a sense of profound love for all beings, even if we would rather some beings we don't necessarily agree with their actions, their words, and we don't condone those. We can still love them for who they are in their essential nature. Everyone and everything is the same infinite being, the one being showing up in all these different ways. So it's worthwhile, whatever struggles we seem to have to go through on this path, because this is the most worthwhile thing we can achieve. And even to say achieve is not the right word. We can see clearly, and once we have seen clearly, that will be with us forever. Long after this body's gone, the recognition will still be here in the individual energy that is this unique individual being, just as your recognition will stay with you. Each individual, we're not separate. One of us has to do this work. And then once it's done forever. No matter how many bodies come and go after that, the knowledge, the wisdom stays with us. So to that end, tonight, I thought we would do some self-inquiry to come to recognize a little bit more clearly, experientially, not just intellectually, mentally, because that's not going to help us when we're really going through something. We're going to come to a deeper understanding experientially, to actually discover here, right now, a deeper understanding that sits in the heart, that's going to be with you in your highest and your lowest moments, cushioning the lowest moments, insulating you against your ability to suffer. And leveling out, there'll still be highs, there'll still be lows, but there'll be a more constant, stable, effortless peace in the background. So in order to come to that place of seeing, there only has to be a willingness to see. That's all that we as students, seekers on the pathway are responsible for. Do I really want to see what I am? And of course, the answer to that is yes, otherwise you wouldn't be here. And then to answer that question also, when some thought or some karmic pattern is playing, do I really want to see what I am here? Or would I prefer to keep attention on my thoughts, even as painful as they are? It can be an old habit to embrace those. So the antidote then is to see clearer and clearer each time what we actually are. Because when we do that, it's going to override our tendency to go with these thoughts when they arise. So let's get started with that now. We're going to go into a different way of seeing what we really are. And if you want to, you can follow along and do your best to kind of feel out inside, see if you can experience what I'm saying inside, with the caveat that you're not responsible for the outcome. You're not responsible for whether you actually have a direct seeing today, right now, or not. You're only responsible for the willingness. And whether you have an epiphany or not, you're still waking up to the truth. Something is happening in the background, which becomes very much in the foreground as you continue. So we're going to start by, you can best to do this if you can with your eyes open, because otherwise we tend to drift off into a deeper state, or we might even find ourselves falling asleep as a way to resist deeper seeing. So if you can, sitting with your eyes open and just beginning by taking a few deep breaths. We're just going to take a few deep breaths where as we breathe in at your own pace and your own depth, you don't have to force it, just making sure that your belly is moving too. So that your belly is coming out when you inhale and in when you exhale. And just the tiniest of pauses, a fraction of a second after you finish inhaling before you exhale. Just being conscious in that way. So that we're not just breathing from our chest, we're also breathing from all of our lungs, and it really has an impact on the body. And then here tonight in West Yorkshire, it's really windy, so there's lots of noise of the wind outside, blowing the trees around and things. Whatever you can hear, whether it's these words or something going on around you, let's just start for a moment really, really listening. I'd like you to listen as if I was going to start whispering really quietly, as if I was going to say this secret to everything you've ever wanted, as if I was going to tell you that. So if somebody's speaking really quietly, you really kind of have to listen. As if at any moment I might say something really important. So you're fully present, fully listening. In that, there's an aliveness in that. Can you feel when you're really listening? Sometimes it's very different to really listen. And we're not really listening to anything in particular, we're just listening. Obviously, you're hearing these words right now. And I can hear sounds outside, I can hear sounds here in the room, I can hear a clock ticking, various other sounds. So just really listening as if somebody were about to whisper something really important. And now checking with me, where do you hear these words? So you hear these words coming in, the vibration coming in through your ears. So the words are heard in your head and translated into meaning. So you're really listening to these words, really listening. Noticing how your body responds when you really listen. And again, not drifting off into a deeper state. We can do that later. And now I want you to listen to the listening itself. What does the listening sound like? Is it making noise? There's listening happening. When I first did this, I was astonished to discover that the listening was already utterly silent. The very act of listening is a kind of silent receptivity. Just bringing attention to the listening itself. And I want to ask you this question, and if you can, follow along, check it out, see what happens. Just the asking of the question, not the answer. I'm more interested in if you're willing to ask this question and say, where is the listener? What's being heard is being heard here. Where is the listener, the listening? Where is that? And for most of us, when we ask that question, there's an immediate sense here, or we might point to here. It's here, I'm here. But just getting back in touch with that listening again. Where is it? Where is it happening? Checking that out. Where is the listener? Where's the one hearing these words? The words are in your head, from my mouth to your ears. Where's the listener? Just pushing through this assumption that we have that I know where it is. Can you find where the listening starts and stops? I want this same listening be here after satsang has finished. It might be listening to someone else talk, or listening to the audio coming from the TV, or listening to the sound of the car driving if you're in the car later, but still listening nonetheless. Where is it? Can you find where the listening is happening? The location of what's being heard is in a particular place. The sounds that you're hearing them in your ears. But where are you that's listening? Self-inquiry is not so much about getting an answer. It's about entertaining the question inside yourself, letting it do some work. Because the idea that we all believe, as I did, is that the listener is here, located where the body is. But if you really look again, let's just ask one more time. Where is the listener? See if you can find where it is and where it isn't. The one that's listening to these words. The words are happening in a particular location, and they're being heard in another location. And where is the listener? Does it have a location? Do you have a location? And if at any time you get distracted listening to thoughts, mind might be saying, I don't understand this. I'm lost, I'm confused. Or I think I'm getting this. Or I know this, I've done this already. Or I don't want to do this. I know where the listener is. The mind may also say, I don't know where the listener is. Just coming back to the listening itself. What does listening sound like? You can hear that there's something to hear, like these words, or that there's nothing to hear. You can hear somethingness, and you can hear nothingness. How are you hearing that nothingness? It's not making a sound. Do we really know then what the listener is? Who the listener is? And we can do this with our eyes too. You know the images that your eyes are seeing. They're happening. The information's coming in through your eyes into the optic nerve and then into the brain. We know where that's happening, the physical seeing. But where is that one that's watching through the eyes? Where is that one? Again, just taking these questions in and playing with them inside your consciousness. Taking these questions inside, being willing to run them through and try to see. That's all you have to do. You don't even have to make a seeing happen, an epiphany. Just the willingness. Where actually is the seer? Where is the seer? My eyes see in my head, but where am I that sees what they see? If you close your eyes for a moment, you can see that there's nothing to see. You can still see. If you open your eyes, you can see that there's something to see. Eyes closed, absence of phenomena. Eyes open, presence of phenomena. The one seeing, where is that? And when I really looked, when I really was willing, something opened up into an understanding that I am not in any particular place. The listening is not happening only in my head. The seeing is happening without a location. It's not happening in a particular place. And the seeing and the listening and the touching and the tasting and the smelling were all just happening in a body. But the one that they were reporting to, I couldn't actually find where that one was. It wasn't just in my head. So I'd urge you, invite you to really look and see. Just the willingness to bring this question again, where is the seer? Where is the listener? What if the only thing we were ever suffering from was this assumption that it's here, only here? And what happens if we disregard that assumption for a moment? Listening, seeing is a non-phenomenal happening. It's happening everywhere. There's just seeing, listening, and bodies arising in it. And again, if you can't follow this far along, it's okay. Just the willingness to is undoing so much idea of separation inside you right now. Just the willingness to. Something is happening right now. Karma is burning away. Let's just listen to the listening again. And if you get a little lost, you can start by listening to these words. Just listening to the words that are being spoken. The words aren't really important. They're just helping you to contrast that there's listening happening all the time, continuous. Has that listener changed since I started speaking? Has it changed since you woke up this morning and got out of bed? Has it changed since 10 years ago? "10 years from now, will it be different, that listening? Or does it have this kind of timeless quality to it?" And listening can listen to phenomena, to sounds like these words, the wind, a car, to your thoughts. And it can also listen to itself. Just for a moment, let's listen to the listening. And if you want to close your eyes now, feel free. We'll just take 5 or 10 minutes before we go into the questions. Just listening to the listening. And if you find yourself listening to thoughts, notice that listening is exactly the same. Whether it's listening to thoughts, words, sounds, or itself. You can hear something, and you can hear nothingness. And even while I'm speaking, you can just let these words hit you lightly and remain listening to the listening. You don't have to do anything with these words. Just listen to the listening. The sounds, the words come and go. And the listening remains constant. The listening, it isn't doing anything. It's not exerting any effort to listen. That's just its nature. And when you really listen to the listening, everything else, the mind, the noises, outside, inside, they don't tend to bother you so much or at all. What does the listening sound like? There is this silent faculty that is your essential nature. This listening was here before this body came and will be here after it's gone. Undisturbed by the presence of any sound or absence. Because it's listening, it's deeply quiet already, utterly still. It remains constant, no matter what it's listening to. Just listening to the listening itself. Curious about the listening. Falling in love with the listening. You are this deep, still, open listening. You don't even need anything to listen to. There's a joy and a freedom in just listening for no reason at all. Sometimes the listening seems to become louder, even though it's silent, more intense. It's simply because we're bringing attention to it. It's looking, listening to itself. How can it be louder and silent at the same time? So if you will just be curious about this listener, or the listening isn't really what we thought it was, isn't a someone listening, something much vaster, more infinite listening through your ears. What hears is not a someone, not a person. It hears the ideas about the imagined person. So I hope that you've had a deeper exploration of who you really are in this. And we don't need to have any profound epiphany or insight from this. Perhaps you might notice that just the willingness to listen and to explore with me has opened something up inside, unblocked something, started something going. And perhaps you might have noticed that just listening to the listening has an effect upon the body and the mind, a calming, soothing effect. And if you like what we've done here in this session, then it's enough just to simply take these questions with you in your heart, asking them every now and again, not trying to find an answer so much, just embracing the question. What is the listener? Where is it? And see what happens with that. So I'd like to open it up for questions. I have a couple of questions here I'm going to read. If you would like to raise your hand, we'll see how many questions we can get through live. I'll read these two first. This says, "Hi Helen, I want to first say thank you for you. Every time I'm wrestling with a difficult challenge or question, you address it in satsang.
You're a beacon of light, excuse me, in a difficult period. And I appreciate you so very much. Well, thank you. Thank you for that. I am really struggling over the past several months. After 5 years of relative peace, I am once again assailed by extremely negative self-talk on the inside and upheaval in life. As I listened to a recent satsang, I realized how much I am trying to stop life, even once it's already manifested. And I've been doing this since I was a little child. I thought I'd moved beyond that into more flow and surrender. But it all seems to have come back with a vengeance. I'm struggling with my job, feeling inferior and like I don't belong. Many people around me are suffering illness or dying. Finances feel out of control, and I feel a lack of purpose in life. I can catch myself and see that I'm not a person, and that all of this chaos is appearing to nobody. I suppose I thought purpose and passion would come through this awakening process, but I just feel somewhere between crappy and horrible most of the time. I've heard you address variations of this issue many times, but once more, please. Sending you lots of love in the new year. So it can be quite surprising, can't it? If you've had a honeymoon period, so to speak, you've had some peace, and then suddenly all of this stuff comes back up. You're like hyper aware of where you are, trying to change things in your environment, trying to change things inside. Things in your experience seem to be going off on a tangent, and it somehow all seems to come up at once, because the more you have seen what you already are, and you obviously have, because you've been feeling quite some amount of peace, then the more entertaining any thought really is going to show up in your whole life. So instead of it just showing up in one area, it's kind of showing up in finances, in your friendships, in your job, and everything like that, all at once. So the first thing to check is, as you said, you're being assailed by extremely negative self-talk. So that would be the first place that I would start. What do you do when that comes up? So as you deepen in your awakening, what you're going to have to look at is all the parts of your egoic sense of self that perhaps you couldn't or wouldn't on some level look at. Of course, consciously we want to. The part of us that we really don't want to look at, what's left of our egoic sense of self, is that which particularly hates ourselves, or at least severely dislikes, or severely criticizes, something like that, our own self. And for me, when I looked at this, there was a real knee-jerk tendency to push that away. So if I heard my mind saying really horrible things about myself, then there would be this, I don't want that. I want peace, love, and joy. I'm a loving being. I am the essence of love. I don't want that. That's judgmental, hateful, resentful, that egoic sense of self, that separate person, whatever's left of it at this point as it dissolves. I don't want that. It should go away. And that rejection then of that means that we're actually being that. Only the ego would reject the ego. And of course, we come to reject it because we value the seeming opposite. We value openness and honesty and love and compassion and truth. But here, we just have to be careful here at this point that you meet this this negative self-talk as the infinite self and not as an egoic sense of self. What would the silence, the listening, as we've been calling it tonight, what would that do with this negative self-talk? Would it push it away? Or would it want to kind of deeply embrace? Deeply embracing it doesn't mean liking it or even wanting it. We can deeply embrace what we don't like within us simply by allowing it to exist. And sometimes rejecting it because
We want 100% of our beingness to be loving. We don't want 85% to be the infinite self, and then there's 15% that's the egoic sense of self. Or maybe those, some days those are flipped over. There's a compassionate, loving thought in the middle of all the other insanity. We don't want that. We want to get rid of it. But how do we get rid of it? Is it by pushing it away? Because that pushing it away is the only thing that the real infinite self cannot do. It cannot push anything away. It simply cannot. It's like asking the listening to reject something it's hearing. It can't, can it? It doesn't have any capacity to push or pull. It can't do anything with what it's hearing, what it's seeing. So you have to kind of be like that then, making an effort to come from the infinite self when there's negative self-talk. So I'm not going to believe it because I know it's not true, but I'm also not going to push it away. And that's really, really important. Because usually all that's happening, or the only thing that's left is I'm pushing that away, knowing that at some point it will go. Some point, somehow awakened beings have managed to release that. But how did they do that? Did they do that by pushing it away? When I checked, I was really rejecting this. It was anti-self, anti-peace, anti-love and joy, compassion. And I wanted to love myself, not to hate myself. I had to love the hating. I had to embrace the criticizing. Only then did it dissolve. And until then, it showed up everywhere in my life. Other people criticizing me, everything, right? What I was pushing away inside, I kept experiencing on the outside over and over. So I hope that really helps and gives you something to go forward with. Okay, one more and then I'll call to the hands that are up. Hi, Helen, thank you for all you share. I can't say that there's suffering here anymore, thankfully, wonderful. Yet there's desire to deepen into abiding peace. I feel there's belief that to die fully into love or emptiness would maybe mean abandoning those who still believe in separation. That I somehow have a responsibility to serve others first. This belief has been reflected back to me in the form of others who I highly respect saying things like, it's not about you, you're here to serve others. Not as blatantly as that, but that's the gist of the energy. I do contemplate, are there really any others, etc. I feel this belief holds the remnants of belief in separation in form. I realize it's only a belief, but I love your intuition to help dissolve it. I also understand that there's no greater way to serve others than to truly be the self. But that understanding yearns to transform into being now. Thank you. Lots of love always. So there's a desire to deepen in abiding peace. And if you do that, there's a sense that you'll be abandoning others. So that you have a responsibility to serve others first. Well, this idea that we are here to serve other beings is perhaps one of the most noble ideas, service to each other, service to the teachings, service to yourself, all of that. But all of that is in separation. And eventually I had to give up even this idea. Even if I sit here now holding satsang to help you wake up to the truth, then I'm doing you a disservice. Because I'm stating, first of all, that you're separate to me. And I'm stating, secondly, that you're not already what you're trying to become. So whichever way you're serving others, it's not something you can do. It's something the body will do. But you can't do anything because you're everywhere. You are those others you're trying to serve, as you've been contemplating. This idea about being selfish or selfless both involve a separate sense of self. And in reality, there's only the infinite one being. So even if we give away eventually this idea of serving other beings, what naturally happens is that the whole of creation becomes yourself, or you see that it really is. You can't help but serve then. Serving yourself, you could say, capital S. What that looks like is serving other beings. It looks like total selflessness. It looks like infinite compassion. But it's really just, each one of us has our own nature of self-preservation. If something dangerous moved towards you, you would move away from it out of safety and habit and reflex, and that's a good thing. So there's this self-preservation and self-love that's going on. And the only thing that's happening here is you realizing what that self really is, how big it is. So I would really, even as these others are saying to you, it's not about you. It's putting the emphasis on them, not them, perhaps those that were saying it, but them that we think we're going to serve. When I looked for those that I wanted to serve, I couldn't find them outside of my own self. Still not managed to. So the reason I'm doing this satsang then is because it's something that the body seems to do. It just wants to do it. It happens. I'm not doing it to serve anyone. Awakened beings have never done anything to serve anyone else because there isn't one. And with that comes a deep compassion, functionality, and a total ability to somehow know what to say, do, where to be at the right time, right place. So if the belief's there that to die fully, you're going to abandon those others, then that idea also has to go. You can't serve others. You can't abandon others. You can't help others if there aren't any others. If everyone is embraced as your own self, then you would treat those others as you would treat yourself. And that doesn't mean that you end up being a doormat and helping everyone and denying your own self, because again, that is in separation. Same love and reverence for every being. How your body interacts with those beings might be different. I hope that helps. Just to this idea is so revered, a service to others, and I get that, and we can say that, can't we? We can say that we're serving all of humanity by being here to wake up, but it's not really the ultimate truth, and it causes a lot of challenges later on the path where you are, definitely. Okay, so we'll go to persists when you're ready. We'll take the 4 hands that we've got there, and then we'll that should be all the time that we've got then. So when you're ready, Persis.
Hi, Ellen.
Hi, how are you doing?
So a while ago, you told me to look for myself, to go beyond the senses. And I told you I couldn't imagine going beyond feeling.
Yeah.
And I can imagine going beyond physical feeling. But not in the sense of sensing energy. And even if I would exist in a vacuum and no other energies would be there, still my energy would be there. Like the sense of presence or the sense of being. Like you describe it as existence.
Yeah. What is that existence?
And so, sorry?
What is that existence? Sense of existence, sense of presence. Is it a
It's
thing?
just a subtle, sweet vibration or something, but it's still perceivable.
Have another look at it. Have another look. The presence that you are, is it a vibration? There is a vibration that comes with it, but is it a vibration? Just really wanting to see, what actually is it? This presence. I know I'm here, but what is that? Is it a thing? There might be a vibration arising in the body when you look at this, but the presence sees that too. So what is that presence, that existence? Is it a someone or a something?
I think it's just a consciousness.
Yeah, tell me what you can experience about that consciousness. Can you see it? Can you feel it? Is it a feeling or is it something different?
Mm. Just being able to perceive, I think.
Yeah.
And a mix of that and pure awareness or something.
Yeah, and does it have a shape, this awareness, this consciousness? Or is it shapeless?
It's shapeless.
Yeah, and where is it? Can you point to it with your finger, or is that kind of a silly thing?
Mm.
Is it over here or over there, or do those terms do they not really apply?
If I'm honest, it does have a sense of location, but I think that's linked to the sense of presence or the vibration I talked about.
So the one that knows the vibration, where is that? The you that knows the vibration.
Mm.
Where is that you?
Oh yeah, of course it's beyond. Okay.
So
I thought like consciousness and awareness were different because when this sense of being is not there, like I cannot go there, but there's still pure awareness. But the pure awareness is also here now.
yeah.
They were like separated. Okay.
Something gets clearer, right? There's something here that is me, and it's not like any other thing. It's just different, completely different. And it feels like it's here, I'm here, but I can't really say where that is. Is it inside the body, or is the body inside it? Or both?
I really cannot say anything about it because I will talk about sensing again, I think.
Yeah, that's okay. When you just pay attention to this, does your body feel better or worse? Do you feel nicer or worse?
Like right now, there's just adrenaline and focus, I think.
So just bringing attention back to this that you're seeing now. We would call it awareness, we could call it consciousness, we could call it emptiness, we could call it here-ness, whatever we call it, it doesn't matter, does it? Just bringing attention back to this as often as you can. Has it changed since you and I started talking?
No.
And did it just appear when you looked for it, or has it always been here? Did it just got jumping quick? She's going to do some self-inquiry with Helen. We better jump in there. Or is it just always there?
Well, as soon as I look at it, there's like I am aware, or there's some identification or something.
That's just floating around inside it, isn't it? The identification, it's fine. Just bringing attention to this, whatever you want to call it, as often as you can. And it'll just get clearer and clearer that this is here before any form, even before vibration. It can perceive vibration, right? Subtle phenomena like vibrations and gross tangible phenomena like your body, a table, a tree. It can perceive all of those. And just as you bring your attention to it more and more often, it will just open up and sort of really reveal itself. What's happening now?
I think I'm trying to focus on it, but that doesn't really work.
Can't really effort at it, can you? You can just kind of notice it, yeah. You can maybe get back to it. What hears the vibration? What feels the vibration? What notices? And it just points you back to that, whatever it is. And then just spending as much time as you can just hanging out here, noticing it. Wonderful. Spend some time with that and then let me know what unfolds from that, yeah? Fantastic, thank you. Christine?
Hi, Helen.
Hi.
Following on from my little epiphany the other day, I feel like there's a few things coming together. So when I had that experience that when I went to the ego, Dissolving the Ego book, and there was my answer, it also felt like you and I were in the same space, that there was like an essence of you and an essence of me, but there was no separation at the same time.
Yeah.
And so then I just kind of experimented a little bit with different people that I know, just,
Yeah, like exercise inside yourself.
Yeah, and yeah, I felt no separation with them either. And then I think, things closed back in over the day.
Yeah.
But doing this exercise, because those people that hear a continuous sound, which seems to deepen as I open, and I've been kind of playing with that too, and it seems to intensify. So I started to see that it might be a vibration as much as a sound.
It could be the same thing, right? Sound and vibration, two ways of describing the same movement of energy.
Yeah, exactly. Because I was wondering, am I getting underneath it? Am I just listening to an object? So that's always been a little bit of am I actually hearing the silence? But when I've tried to do it that I just go to like the transparency that, and then when we did the seeing one, it was when you suggested we open and shut our eyes a few times. It seemed like even what I saw outside was somehow more transparent.
Mm-hmm. Not quite so real.
Not quite so real. Yeah, almost like, yeah.
It's here, but it's here, but it's not like I thought it was. It's all here.
Yeah.
What if it's not exactly what I thought?
Yeah. So I realized that the seeing and the listening are the same thing.
We call it seeing when it looks through the eyes, and we call it listening when it looks or listens through the ears, and we call it tasting when it uses the tongue. But it's the same open awareness, receptivity that's kind of you know dabbling through. We call it differentiated into the five senses, but before that it's just alive and sentient and intelligent, watching, noticing, isn't it? It's only later that they call it seeing or listening.
Yeah. And that's the same as you and I, myself and others.
Mm-hmm. Because when you look for where that is, but where is that undivided, before it divides itself into the senses? And it doesn't really ever do that, but for the sake of where is that? It's looking through those eyes and these eyes. Where is it in between? And where does it stop? Where does your being stop and mine start? Can something that doesn't have any tangibility even stop?
Yeah.
It just gets clearer and clearer, doesn't it? That there's something more fundamental about me than the body, than the mind, even than vibration, even than this sound that's happening, whatever we call it, sound or vibration. And that doesn't have a location. It isn't limited by form. It uses form, appears as form, but it's not limited by it. And it really doesn't have any boundaries. There isn't my being or your being. It seems that way, doesn't it? Because it seems like you have a different accent to mine, you look different, you dress different, everything about you, a different part of the world. All that would seem to indicate two beings, but we look from the fundamental essence, transparency, as you called it. It's not somewhere, is it?
No, it's certainly not. Yeah.
And we wouldn't have even noticed it if we didn't have this seeming somewhereness to contrast it with.
Yeah.
If you're just everywhere all the time and always have been and could never not be, how would you notice yourself? Where would you look from?
True.
Which corner of yourself would... So it creates this sense of someone in order to kind of give a contrast and then come to this kind of understanding. It's the same one listening as he's talking.
Yeah, that's how it started to feel. Yeah, that's the experience I was starting to have, which is pretty different, having always had a bit of an authority kind of complex.
It's it might not ever manifest as a huge epiphany. Oh, you're not separate to me. It might do that, but for me, more important than that was the sense of just being able to feel comfortable talking with you, relaxed, not having to defend or, you know, try to make you like me or approve of me or any of that stuff. Because there's a deep recognition that we are the same one. So all the human defenses tend to be seen to be unnecessary in that. If everything is your own self, there's no need for all of that, is there, so much?
No, absolutely. Absolutely. That's how it feels as I'm talking to you. And I know I so didn't feel like that with the last teacher I followed, not putting any blame on them.
We're ready to see it whenever we're ready, right? It's you could have the Buddha sat right there next to you, and if you're not ready,
you're
not ready, it's okay.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Just keep seeing it, keep deepening in it. Keep sort of exploring it. Where does it stop? Where does it start? How long has it been here? Just really falling in love with it. Is it dependent on form? Does it need form? All of that. Wonderful. Thank you. Good to talk to you.
Good to talk to you.
Don, when you're ready.
Okay. So what came up for me in that exercise was whether I was seeing or whether I was hearing, and you didn't provide any food, so I didn't have any smell going on. But
I'll get on that next time. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you should. And some taste. So
I'll see how I can do that over Zoom.
Okay. Just I believe in you.
No pressure.
So, none. So what came up for me is both of those senses came through my heart when I listened deeply. And is that something that you've is consistent across your people, or is that something just, I didn't know if that was what everyone was experiencing, but that was what I was experiencing.
When you say heart, what do you mean by heart?
HEART, heart. That's like in that center of my body, fourth chakra.
So when you listen to the listening, it has some effect in this physical area of your body, in the fourth chakra. It has some kind of effect on that, right? It seems to flow through there, or whatever thing happened.
Yeah, because it didn't seem to be connecting at the eyes or at the ears, but it seemed like both of the informations flowed to my heart, and that's where it resonated. And I was trying to do the exercise the way you asked us to, which is deep listening and deep seeing.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if that's normally, but it distinctly, that's where I got the information.
And you that knows that you felt it in the heart, where are you? So this question is meant to really open something up, right? I'm feeling something happening in my heart.
There is no me. There's just this instrument, and this is where the instrument is feeling the exercise.
And what's reporting back through the instrument? What's talking to me right now then, if there is no me? Something is using that body to talk to me right now. Not a separate being, but something.
Well, the cosmos, I suppose, the energy of the love energy that is there and alive, and then noumena and the phenomena.
Yeah. And where is that?
It's everywhere.
Is it limited just to that body?
No.
Is it different, the one that's talking to the one that's listening right now?
No.
Pretty cool. What happens to your body when you notice that?
I panic and I want to go back into the world of thought And I got sort of overwhelmed by something, a thought that came up after that, and I went, oh, I must go back there.
So just noticing that when we touch upon this, there's a very sometimes subtle, very overt, sometimes defense mechanism of don't look at this. You know, some kind of hitting a big red panic button inside. Something it really doesn't want you to have this conversation. And some part of you does, of course, because you put your hand up, but just noticing that defense mechanism. Why do you think that is? Why do you think something like that comes up?
I had one teacher describe that as a circuit breaker. When you get too deep and too real, that your ego has some sort of circuit breaker that comes in and enough of this.
Yeah, because you might see something that you can't go back from. And I mean, go back in terms of go back to suffering. That's
what
about.
got triggered was an issue with a relationship. And I was like, oh my God. And so I went down that rabbit hole.
Because there's an idea, well, there was for me, that if I spend too long looking at this formless reality that I am, this cosmos, as you called it, I won't be able to fix my problems, whether it's in my relationship or in my work or whatever it is. I want, if I realize myself to be the undivided one, I won't be able to sort that out, that problem. So something puts the brakes on. Hang on a minute. You're not going to get what you want if you keep on looking at this real self. And that's why the resistance comes up. So just questioning that, spending a little time. Is it actually true that if I go even deeper into self-recognition, that I'm not going to be able to solve my problems or even care about them? Because the mind thinks that you need to be a separate being in order to fix that. What if that's not true? What if it's only fixable, resolvable as the infinite one? Because, you know, we've been trying very hard to fix these things as a separate being, haven't we, for a long time?
Yes.
Might be a different person in the relationship, different type of relationship, but still the same challenges.
Well, it's certainly, this is the furthest it seems like I've been able to go down that rabbit hole and stay, oh, this is the cosmos you're going into. The rabbit hole was the other one.
So maybe then this fear is coming up now to help you because you're going deeper. This is now, yeah, but we need this resolving first, this idea. I need this, mind says, I need this idea resolving first, that if we go deeper here, I won't be able to fix my problems. So mind's now giving you things to look at that have been holding you back without realizing, because we're not being conscious of these ideas. For me, this came up too. You won't care about the world. You won't care about your life. You won't care about anything if you keep going deeper into this. And I had to really look at that. Is that true, actually? You know, to really look at that inside. Didn't take very long, but I really determined I'm not just gonna let that stop me this time. I'm gonna really investigate. Maybe the mind's trying to actually help me now. Maybe it's saying, yeah, now you need to look at this before you can go any deeper into the cosmic self.
Well, I was thinking about, well, why isn't Helen giving us something to taste and smell? But you can let us feel.
Every time you go to the fridge, I'm giving you something to taste.
Yes, yes. So, but I did, that's my ego didn't feel deprived of that. I was just sitting there like, I wonder if my taste and touch will go through the heart too.
Yeah, and it's curiosity, it's exploration. That's really good, isn't it?
Yes.
What's it like when I use this sense? What's this sense like? Because we've done two. What's this other one like?
Yeah. So thank you. I want to ask like part B of the question now. Is it a universal that these other, beings, is the heart a particularly, is that where a lot of people are filtering this information from the cosmos, or is that unique to each light being?
there's probably as many different ways to, you know, if you look at the infinite self, the listening, as we've been calling it, there's probably an infinite number of ways that each body mind feels it, or how, or no, you know, the effect of looking at that has. For you, it was really deeply felt in the heart. For everyone, it's probably as many individuals as they are, not separate beings. There's probably those many ways of feeling it, but some people tend to feel it in the heart. Some people feel it as a kind of whole body experience. Others still, for me, it was like deep in my gut. It was like something finally sat right in my gut. Something had been, you know, when you've got a little indigestion or something like that. It being just the closest feeling I can get to that my whole life. And then suddenly just something was sitting right deep in my gut. And later my heart, but then mostly the gut first of all. And I'm sure everybody's body is unique and will experience it differently. All that matters really is the honor, whichever way it's happening for you.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go to the fridge and start experimenting with those other spaces.
Where's the taster? Yeah, where's the taster?
Yeah, where's the taster? Where's Helen not depriving us of taste and smell?
Light some incense and see where the smeller is. Yeah,
I will.
Yeah, have fun
I
with
think, I think the fridge I can do taste and smell, but we'll see.
Oh yeah, you could. Absolutely. Yeah. Wonderful.
Okay.
Good to talk to you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, last but not least is HC. Oh, Helena. Hi.
Hi. All the questions were answers already, but somehow I was left to be the last, and it's kind of simple. Like you ask, where's the listener? And immediately I know it. I know, you know, the listener is everywhere. I know there's a knowing of that. And somehow I just needed to, like, how do I know it? I needed to, like, can you prove it to me that, is it everywhere? It's like, it's simple somehow, but there was something in me, like maybe my ego or something needs to, like, stick to the question, how do I know it? Right?
How do you recognize something that's everywhere? How are you doing that?
Yeah, well, you know, being sitting with, I don't know, sitting or whatever. Well, there's what comes to me is awareness, consciousness, awareness that just is not limited to, you know, just here. I don't really know how I know.
This question for me, it became the biggest obsession of my life. It's like, oh my God, I am infinite and formless, but how do I know that?
Yeah.
How am I doing that? Because I knew it wasn't my senses. I can't see with my eyes that I'm everywhere. You can only see a certain range. It wasn't my mind. It's not a thought process. There was some kind of seeing, recognition, knowing. I just knew, like you said. And then afterwards, it was like, yeah, but how? And
Yeah,
it was like this, you know, knocking on the door constantly. How do I know that I'm everywhere? And I think I looked at that from every single angle that I could, thought about it, experimented with it, everything. And all I can say is this is the healthiest obsession you'll ever have. Because it won't let you stop until you absolutely know you're looking from everywhere at the everywhereness. You're not looking from somewhere. When you see the emptiness, perceive the emptiness, the everywhereness, as you've called it, where are you looking at it from? Are you looking at the everywhereness from somewhere? Could you see everywhere if you're looking from somewhere?
right. You see it from everywhere too. Yeah.
And the perception keeps being drawn back to, yeah, but I'm looking from somewhere because I'm looking through these eyes right now, somewhere. But this question is going to blow that out of the... You're also looking from somewhere. You're also having that experience while the body's there. But first and foremost, you have to be seeing non-locally. You're not looking from any point in time and space, or you're seeing from everywhere, or from every point in time and space. And that's not an experience, is it? Because the body can't experience that. That's a knowing, a direct seeing.
Yeah.
Like, this is exciting. I love it when this kind of question comes up. I get goosebumps.
I was like, no. I don't need to ask this but it was like pressing, like
You must. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
it wants to burn up that last little bit of separation with this question. There's a slight tendency to still think I'm looking from somewhere at the everywhereness. And this question for me was relentless. It would not let me stop until I'd really seen I cannot see everywhere from somewhere. I don't know where I am, or I'm everywhere. I'm not somewhere.
Well, I feel like I'm so stuck with my separate self in some ways that I'm like, this is how I perceive things. But then there is this too that knows, and
Don't try and fix that separate sense of self. Just leave it be. Leave it be. Let it do its thing. You obsess over this question. This is the question that ends everything. All suffering, I mean, at least. Can you feel how powerful it is?
Yeah.
And something is like, I need to know. I mean, the self doesn't need to know anything, but there's some kind of final seeing going to come from this where you can't go back, right? You can't suffer ever again. And you'll always still seem to be looking from somewhere. Like right now, it seems that your body is where it is and mine is where, and that's true, and that we're having a conversation, the two of us. But that's very fun and playful and light.
Yeah.
You realize, same one talking and listening and
and just one more thing, like the listening to all the sounds, it was really it changed, and I had some glimpses of this joy of just being with it that felt hopeful.
just listening. Like, when do we ever do that? We just listen.
Yeah.
Even when we're listening to some beautiful music, mine starts to, I remember last time we heard this, we were sitting with that person and we were in that place. And it's anything except just fully being present to whatever we're hearing. You can't do that for very long, being fully just listening, and joy starts to arise immediately from that. Because that's just being yourself then, isn't it? I'm just aware listening.
Yeah. Thank you.
Wonderful. That's exciting. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm holding the phone so I can't.
We'll do it. Yeah, we'll do a onesie. Good to talk to you.
You too. Thanks.
Okay, so what a wonderful way to finish it for this satsang this evening. And thank you for all your intelligent questions you've sent in, and the ones that have been asked here on this session tonight here have been just so atomically powerful. And maybe you get a sense of how we come to an effortless, stable peace now. It's not about hard work. We've been curious. We've explored here on this session. We've discovered. We haven't strived hard or efforted massively. We've just questioned. We've played around with questions. It's been quite light. We're not trying to get anywhere. We're just kind of exploring because it's nice to do that. Yeah. So I hope you've enjoyed this as much as I have, and I will see you again very, very soon. Thank you. Namaste.